Well, hello. Well, yes, lucky. The sun is back. So it looks like maybe we'll have a whole week of sunshine, which is going to be fun. I have errands to do, and I'd rather do them on the bicycle. So hopefully I can. It was -3 Celsius last night, a bit chilly. It's amazing how well a hot water bottle works. Um, I'm headed to the post office to pick up some registered mail. And I ordered this card game, from the States. It's always hard to get stuff from the States. It gets stuck in customs and all that stuff. It's really a pain. So I got to find out where that's being held now, since I wasn't home when they delivered it. Also, I got some more links from the usual anti-vax folks, the excess death people, and the Davos conspiracy mongers. I've always said that you don't need a conspiracy because the system's logic is what this is all about. It's a feature, not a bug. It's been coded and programmed. Our global, political economic system, world order, dollar hegemon, empire this, colonial that, neo this, neo that. However you want to parse it or describe it, depending on your political ideology or religion or whatever. The way the world works is the way the world works, and you either learn how it works through making an effort to learn from various sources, or you play the game. You're a service provider, a clerk, a banker, a lawyer, professional, or bureaucrat, a politician. Play the game, so you have to learn how the game is played, so you have to understand the rules, how to bend the rules. The purpose, of course, is money, status, power, access to the beautiful rooms, the nice clothes, and the nice cars, and the beautiful people who are polite and lovely. And of course, they'll stick a knife in your back. They have to maintain their career. Not all of them, of course. But, if you're going to be ultra competitive, you have to be willing to kick ass once in a while. I'm not saying that every NFL player or every athlete or every competitive person is a homicidal maniac, but there's more than enough psychopaths running the system. Yeah, deep state, call it what you will. Of course, if you're a Republican and you say deep state, then you're crazy. If you're a Democrat or somebody else and you say it, it's okay. Whatever. There are these levels of operation that are more or less transparent in the way the world works, in the operating system. And of course, very powerful countries, in particular the United States, because it's the most powerful country in the world, have particularly pernicious and dangerous secret apparatuses operating around the world, primarily for corporate interests. I don't think it's for workers' interests or for whatever. It's for the players, the shareholders, the hedge funds, the investment bankers, the scam artists like Bernie Madoff and all their people, revolving door political types, and of course military-industrial complex. This is not controversial, because if you pay attention and read enough, there's all kinds of decent, brilliant people around the world who've done a lot of work discussing, describing, uncovering, reporting upon these things. And if you don't want to see it, that's fine. Maybe you watch too much TV, too much MSNBC and CNN and Fox News, so you don't care. You just want to pick a side and cheer for your side. Be a nice cheerleader for your side, and that makes you happy. Okay, cool. We're right, they're wrong. If they would just disappear, the world would be perfect. That kind of thing. And everybody has faith in their beliefs, faith. And I wonder sometimes when I'm reading or listening to or whatever, biblical apologists, theologians, literary critics, historians, experts in Hellenistic culture between the 1st century BCE to 2nd century CE, or whatever it is that you're looking at, experts in their field who spent decades with the books, the archives, the papyri, the whatever, trying to figure things out. And they may identify as Christian or whatever, or maybe not. They have faith in various things, and they believe various things. Maybe they're science or evidence-based. And if you're simply an apologist for magic, then you don't really care that much about evidence, because I'm always amazed to hear people, apologists primarily, coming up with all kinds of really amazing reasons to believe. You have the presbyters and the shamans and the priests and all the different people, authorities in whatever belief system, talking about their ancient works, their little scraps of text that are thousands of years old and what that means. And of course, they just have faith in it because they grew up with that belief system, or they had an epiphany and somebody turned them onto it and it stuck. Whatever reasons, there's many. And they have millions of wonderful, rational and logical arguments. Reasons, basically. Give me a million reasons why I believe it and I'm right about it. I'm just riding around now because I want to finish my thought before I hit the post office. So anyway, basically, each step without any real evidence or really good reason to believe in 2023 and this, that, or the other magical thing that happened thousands of years ago that we just have no evidence for in the present day. Each one is a leap of faith. And you might take 20, 30, 40 leaps of faith to get to a declaration of your faith or whatever, the big principle, the big belief. But it only takes one. You can simplify everything. You can just say, I believe in the supernatural. And since that's a completely different world, it's a dual, it's another world. You've covered all your bases. I believe in magic, I believe in the supernatural, therefore I choose to believe in this particular magic supernatural story, and I'm happy with that. It gives meaning in my life and all that kind of thing. And you're done. You really don't have to pretend like it's so important that some Josephus or some church father way back when, they had a meeting and decided that this, that, or the other thing meant this, that, or the other thing. It was controversial, but we know what it means now. It means this, we've decided, based on a million reasons, a million leaps of faith. So a lot of people, I think, if you're going to be a magical thinker, but that's not enough, Usually people have to tell you their great reasons, right? Whether it's QAnon or how the CIA killed JFK or whatever it is, the melting point of steel girders in a skyscraper, all this kind of stuff. And of course there's exhaustive literature on what motivates conspiracy theorists and what types of people they might likely be. But people aren't interested in knowing that, because you might have to suffer from some cognitive dissonance if you believe that you're not one of these conspiracy theory types. You're just somebody who knows the truth, bro. You know what I'm saying? So, that's basically all I wanted to say was, just if people were honest. I believe in magic. I've had some experiences. I took mushrooms, or maybe not. Maybe I just went to church and the emotion spread over me and it made sense. And whatever it is. The miraculous things you can achieve through mindful meditation or zazen, or being a Muslim or whatever. These cultural aspects of our lives are very profound and important, unavoidable. I wish more people could be compatibilists and just say, I know my magical thinking and my supernatural beliefs have really nothing to do with reality in this world. In other words, all the shit that people get down to when they're trying to control things. And I know physics, and I can understand these various, monism theories of physics, quantum mechanics, and so on, reductionism, or how a jet engine works, evolution, and I can still keep my supernatural thing going without too much cognitive dissonance, because I'm just taking one leap of faith. Count them, just one. I believe in the supernatural. Okay, so that was my roundabout way of getting to this particular post office. Bouliam out. So depending on where you sit, how wealthy you are and where you live and your background, education, all that stuff, the way things are now are pretty cool. But then you think about land people like him, these accelerationists or racial accelerationists or whatever, singularity types, people who want to see human beings turn into machines. I think they're really misguided from what little I know about and how human beings are. Well, we're human beings. We're natural creatures. If we are replaced by machines, that means human beings are extinct. So I think some of these types of people really hate human beings. They don't like people. I think a lot of conspiracy types don't. That's why they have this "I told you so" mentality, where they say, "I told you so." They're just waiting for everybody to die who had mRNA vaccines because they want to say "I told you so." It's more exciting to them. They're just waiting with bated breath that everybody die. Even though I may seem like somebody who's overly concerned about existential threats, I'm really not. I get on with my life, okay? But, well, I think it'd be nice if I had some juice. A lot of times I just don't turn on the motor, but I'm gonna be going up some bigger hills. It's just that, I think it'd be nice if all of us, as many as possible, paid attention to things that were actually concerns. And they could be complex and multifaceted, like inequality. That's not just one easy story with one easy fix. And the kind of global capitalism we have now, and so on and so forth. You don't have to be a heterodox economist or anything like that. People come around when they see the structure and the system starting to buckle a little bit. For whatever reason, you could say it's buckling because of BS stories, or it's buckling because of systemic and structural issues. But if there is a real concern there, it's not hard to figure out why it's a real concern and not just BS. So there are ways one can learn to critically evaluate information and decide if it makes sense to pay attention to it, and then figure out if there's anything you and yours in your community can do to help. Besides sending money to a GoFundMe campaign or whatever, money doesn't always solve all the problems in the world. Sometimes we have to make some changes. They might be uncomfortable, but it is what it is. And sometimes it's good to plan ahead for the changes you need to make and ease into them, rather than get hit in the face, get clobbered, and then say, "Oh no, now I have to change." Have the heart attack, have the stroke, and then lose weight and exercise and change your diet. I'm not blaming anyone who has a stroke or a heart attack. It's not about that. But if you had access to healthcare and you had seen the numbers from your checkups and knew there was a problem from your consultations with your doctor, and still chose to ignore it, maybe just because it's hard to break a habit or whatever, and that's understandable. It's hard to change your habits. So I'm not blaming anybody who has health issues or bad luck, or makes mistakes or fails in their business once in a while. But I'm just saying it would be nice to address these issues ahead of time and sort them out so that we don't get clobbered. So a lot of people just don't care because Putler's Putler, and why did we support and do business with these types of dictators for so many years, and then one day they turn out to be as bad as we knew they were, and then it's all their fault that we didn't do something earlier, that we didn't address the problems before Crimea or whatever. We're reacting, and of course at Davos they're all excited because of the business opportunities after Ukraine is destroyed. If we can get people back into the country who are Ukrainian, because they might just decide not to go back, or if you pump enough money into the new, you know, Ukrainian high-tech universe, and all the Ukrainian programmers and the Ukrainian chip designers, and oh, it's going to be paradise. We'll just rebuild it and it's going to be great. Of course, there aren't any people left, so we're going to have to use robots for that. But, you know, we'll be able to do some biology, you know, Web3 type DeFi situation to entice some meat puppet Ukrainians back into the country to rebuild it. And then, of course, it's going to be in NATO. It's going to be business friendly. All the pipelines are going to belong to American companies. And so the world's going to be beautiful. Of course, then you'll have to put a wall on the border, like the DMZ in Korea, to keep the Russians out, because now you've pushed them into alliances with China and Iran and all these other countries, and bifurcated the global world order. So now you're going to need some serious defense. So more money for the military industrial complex corporations. And if you have an extra $100, why not invest in whatever fraction of whatever share of those companies that you can? Because if they keep pumping liquidity into this system, you're probably going to have a decent return on your investment in those companies if you can deal with it morally and ethically. Well, morally, if you can handle that choice. Just go fund me. Come on, everybody, let's all get together and send $20 in so we can buy some Abrams tanks for the Ukrainians. So that's my concern, and it's possible to be able to think clearly enough and get the decent information to understand how the world works, and then to hopefully be a part of the solution in what tiny little small micro way. And I was also reading a lot today about the surveillance state and AI and all this stuff. I mean, we're so far into this now, and it's a uncontrolled, unwise, ill-considered experiment we're running with all of these data technologies and facial recognition and tracking, and of course we're all into it now. And there's a Thucydides trap with China, and there's a problem with if we don't do it, China's going to get the quantum computer first, and then they're going to break all the codes, and that's super dangerous. So we have to do it. We need more data. China has more data by virtue of its population and its buy-in, how it docilely follows the leadership of the Communist Party of China. So we got to get more data. We got to get people in. There are all kinds of people thinking about this stuff in a game theoretic sense, zero sum. They win or we win, period. One way is dystopia, the other way is towards utopia or whatever, a better world. So, a reset, whatever, the COVID reset. Everything's an opportunity. Silver lining, half full. So, yeah, you got to do what you got to do. The other thing is, people are so freaked out about mRNA. That wasn't really new technology. It had been worked on for a long, long time before that vaccine came out. In an ideal world, they would have taken longer to bring it out, but they had enough to bring it out. And the time to bring it out isn't after a lot of more people die, right? Unfortunately. There's a risk parameters there and probabilities, and you have to judge the benefits and the risks. And people just don't want to see that. If 250 people have an adverse reaction that can be directly associated with a particular vaccine, then all bets are off. It's an evil conspiracy, period. And it's hard to do the numbers, the stats. And it's really difficult to know. And as I've said a million times, people don't really know how to read a research paper. They have no clue. They can barely get through the abstract if they wanted to put 10 minutes into reading the abstract. And if I say on Globe Hackers to commit to reading 25 pages of a good book a day, people make fun of it, send weird memes of Donald Trump holding the Bible upside down. So, lots of times, I'm no guru. I am not a guru. I'm not a guru. I'm not a guru. I'm no guru. I'm not an intellectual influencer. I'm a nobody. I admit that. But mommy, daddy, your best friend suggests that you might want to do something that's good for you, and you hate him for it. You hate him. How dare you? Are you implying that I'm a this, that, or the other thing? How dare you? All these people are just piling on Greta Thunberg as if the whole thing depends on her. And the histrionics of Al Gore. And yet, despite the stupidity of these people at times, because everybody makes mistakes and acts stupid sometimes, there are real things that have to get done. And there are ways to know what works and what doesn't. So if you want to have your non-overlapping magisteria and say, well, there's science and then there's supernaturalism, well, you're a dualistic. You believe in multiple realities, not based on physics. And you have to admit that. If you want to say, culturally, I'm a Christian, Jordan Peterson. And, but I'm not a practicing Christian. I don't believe that Jesus, his mother Mary, was impregnated by a breath. And then he was born and he was a really mean kid because he was so powerful and frustrated with little people. And then he became this really benevolent teacher. And then he died for our sins and all that stuff, and was risen again and all that. I don't believe that. Or maybe you do. But, yes, I have to acknowledge that my background as a European person, in terms of my 23andMe, I know that I come from hundreds of years of various types of Christian culture, and they're all interpreted differently, and blood has been spilled. I really encourage people to study the 30 Years' War because it's so interesting, and crusades and whatever. And these churches are beautiful. History is interesting. It's not all bad. It's not all evil. And we do come from that. It has informed everything. So you can't really have the Constitution, however secularized it was, separation of church and state, without the church. There's nothing to separate. There's no philosophical issues there in terms of political philosophy to deal with. You can have a theocratic state, or you could not. The people who wrote the Constitution were thinking about that stuff. Why? Because Christianity was a big part of the world in which they lived, just like Hellenism was a huge part of the 1st and 2nd century CE in the Middle East. Everywhere from Africa to Egypt to Syria, Turkey, everywhere, was informed by this Hellenistic mythology and history and language. As friends have pointed out, things were written in Greek. And yeah, there was innovations that happened from Greek philosophy to the Roman philosophers and Stoics. And then, Rome, the empire, the entity, not the city, but also the city, eventually took up Christianity. You have the Catholic Church, and there's not just one, there's many. You have to understand what the word Catholic means. And anyway, there are ways to figure this stuff out if you want to dial up your curiosity. But I have a feeling most people just want to dial up their membership in a club, throw down their Bateman card with the beautiful font and the lovely paper, and fit in. And do it in a self-righteous, trolling, kind of mean way. Not in a sincere, ironic, or comedy, sarcastic way. So, yeah, okay. William T. out.